Hello, everybody. You have just boarded the lifeboat. I am not Captain Tommy Scoville. I'm AKA Ella Joy, and I guess I am the boat's nurse. You guys are stuck with me tonight because Tommy is doing some other things. Anyway, let me pull up the comments so I can see what. Okay, hang on. Something's not right. Hang on, guys. Something's not right here. Hang on, guys. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, okay. Can you guys? What is going on here? It's not right here. Okay, I don't know why I am not up on the. What is going on? Hang on, guys. I'll get this figured out. Okay, you guys can hear me, right? What is going on? I've never had this problem before. Good heavens. Why am I not on? Okay. What on earth is going on here? Sakes, this is just lovely. Why am I not on the screen? Good grief. All right. I've used StreamYard plenty of. Why is this not working? What happens? Come on. Okay. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna fix this, guys. I apologize. I don't know. Good grief. Let's see. Good grief. Let me try that one.
Okay, I apologize, guys. My computer has been malfunctioning for some reason. I apologize. I don't know what's going on, and I am so sorry. Okay, this is let me check something. I apologize, guys. I hope. Okay, back again. I am so sorry, guys. All right. I've used StreamYard plenty of times on my own channel, and I have every. I don't know what's going on, but I'll work out the kinks. Anyway, can you guys hear me and see me? Anybody? Anybody in chat? Miss V, can you see me and hear me? Anybody? Uh, Can you guys see me? Okay, all right. Thank you, Dennis. Okay, I am so sorry. I'll get those kinks worked out. Anyway, as I was trying to say earlier, you have boarded the lifeboat, and things are a little bit bumpy today. There's a lot of waves, and the boat's bouncing around on the water, I'm afraid. Anyway, I am not Captain Tommy Scoville. I'm more like the nurse for the boat, and I am AKA Heather Joy. Most of you already know that, but anyway, welcome. And the the link right here at the bottom of the screen. If anybody wants to join me, to you need to talk, you want to add something to the discussion, jump on that link. I'll put you up. You don't have to show your face if you don't want to. You can hide behind your avatar, but I'd really love to have some people jump up with me today sometime. I'm really tired today. I think it's been 3 days, and I've had about 6 hours of sleep in the last 3 days, and I'm running on empty. I'm a little shaky. I can't promise too much tonight, but I'm gonna try. Anyway, as I had said, as you could see on the thumbnail, it's kind of part two about authenticity that I had talked about last week when I went live in place of Tommy. And before I really jump into all of that, I need to tell you a few stories so that I can kind of tie them in to explain what I want to go over tonight. First thing I just wanted to go over was, the family that I came from. I grew up very religious, and my family, it was always with my parents. It was always, one way at home, the way they behaved, the way they spoke to us, the way they spoke to one another. And it was very different in public. If we went to church or we were, went to the grocery store or whatever, it was very, everybody was nice to one another. No one yelled at each other. And it just, and it drove me nuts. It just drove me crazy. Because I knew that's not the way things really were, and I always hated it. It felt so false. It just drove me crazy. And to this day, I do not like superficial discussions. I'm not one for talking about the weather, things like that. If I'm going to talk to somebody, I want to sit down and really make a connection, talk about the deep things that really matter. That's just the way I am. I always have been that way. And, I have very few close friends because of that, because there's very few people that I can, connect with on that level. And that's fine with me. I would rather be alone than to have someone with me who's being fake. And that's just the way I am. And yeah, awakened. Yeah, she says that's how I was raised too. Yeah. So I know you guys understand. Okay, so first story there. The second thing, and this is kind of I'm doing this is a squirrel moment right here. But I felt, I'd been praying today about what to talk about and what exactly to say. And for some reason, I kept feeling impressed upon to tell you about this, even though it really doesn't have anything to do with authenticity. But back in December, I really fell into a hole of depression. And, it had been a long time since I had been that depressed, and really threw me for a loop. And I'm still not sure exactly what was behind it, but there were a couple of weeks that were really scary for me because I started thinking about, I would rather not be here. I would rather not be alive, because it just hurt so much. And I couldn't take it, and I didn't want to give up my sobriety. But it was really rough. And there were a few days where I actually was seeking out inpatient treatment again. And it's that, yeah, it didn't go well. I wasn't able to find anything. And in the end, I'm glad I didn't anyway. But there was one day that I was terrified. I felt so horrible and so out of control. And it was awful. And I called my therapist, Tabitha, and left a message, just said, I absolutely have to talk to her. And that sweet lady, she actually left one of her appointments early to get on the phone with me. And I was explaining to her what I was feeling, and just, I'm sorry. I was telling her just how much it hurt and how much I was struggling. And she said something to me that at first I kind of laughed at in my head. But as the day went on and I thought about it more and more, it made a lot of sense. And this is what she told me. She said, Heather, remember that's your disease talking. That's the depression that's talking to you. It wants you to believe that you are not strong enough to handle any of this. It's going to convince you that you are not strong enough. She said, I know you. You've been through so many things and you've come out on top every time. She said, you can do this. She said, you've got to, remind yourself. And like I said, at first, I just kind of just psychobabble kind of thing. I didn't, I was just hurting so bad and I just wanted the pain to go away. But there are usually not easy or quick answers to anything that's meaningful. And as the day went on, I started thinking about it. I thought, she's right. That is the disease talking. So to whomever it is that I was supposed to tell this to, I just want you to know you are strong enough. You can handle this. If you are struggling with your addiction, or if you're struggling with depression or anxiety, you need to remember that is the disease that is talking to you. That's what it is. You can't let it win. You can't give in. You are stronger than that. And you're still here, which is proof of that. I want you to remember that you are strong enough to handle whatever it is you've got to go through. Anyway, I'm sorry that anyway, the next thing I wanted to tell you about, and I tried to pull up the pictures and the video from 2019 so that I could show you, but it's buried somewhere in the cloud, and I tried it. I couldn't find the things, but as most of you know, both my husband and I run. And my husband does a lot of Spartan races, which are obstacle course races. And I do them too. I haven't done any for maybe 6 months now or something. It's been a little while. Just I've been so busy with other things, and I truly do just prefer to train to run because if you do the obstacle course races, you have got to train, condition your entire body. And with fibromyalgia, sometimes it gets really difficult because if you train just a little too hard, it throws you into a flare. And I anyway, so I haven't done them for a while, but I remember, before I even ever started running, I would travel with my husband and my daughter. My youngest daughter was doing these races at the same time as well. They were both competing, and I only do them for fun and in just an open heat, but they actually compete. They compete in their age groups, and we travel all over the place every year to do these, and at first I was just, along for the ride. And I was watching them and, all the obstacles that they were doing, all the, just, it was really fun it's really fun to watch. And you really have to admire how athletic these people are. They train all year round to be able to do this. And, I had, it was when my fibromyalgia had been first diagnosed that I had first started traveling with my husband to these races, and I was really struggling with the pain and trying to figure out what to do. And I kept watching my husband and watching my daughter, and seeing how much fun they were having in these races, and it started to grow on me. And I remember the day that I decided I wanted to do one, and we were in Breckenridge, and to see some that these the courses of these races are all over the mountains. Yeah, and so to see some of the obstacles, if you want to see your loved one in some of these obstacles, you've either got to hike or ride a tram up to the top of the mountain or whatever. But up in Breckenridge there was this massive mountain, and I knew that I wanted to get to the top, so that I could see my daughter and my husband in some of the obstacles. And I was hurting so much that day. And this is before I'd started training. I had no energy at all. But I remember standing at the bottom of that mountain and thinking, there's no way I'm going to walk up that mountain. Never, never, But then I did. I just made myself, and I hiked my butt up that mountain. So that I could see them. And I had to stop a lot because I was really out of shape. But that was kind of the beginning for me. I started training, and I figured out quickly that that it controls my pain. So now and now the endorphin rush I get from races and from training and all that is awesome. And I am addicted. I'm addicted to runner's highs. I really, really like that. But the first time I was going to do a Spartan race, I was terrified. I'd never done it before. I couldn't sleep the night before. I was so worried about the course and, can I handle it? And, there's so many different obstacles. There's these, walls you gotta haul your carcass over. There's the 8-foot wall. Oh boy, I can't do that on my own. I have to get somebody, some nice gentleman to help boost me up. But, there's like a sandbag carry, but where you put 45 pounds of sand, here on your back, and then you've got to climb up these hills. And I mean, there's like a bucket carry. You have to pick up a bucket that's loaded down with gravel and everything. And I mean, there's all kinds of different obstacles, and they require, some of them require a lot of agility. Some of them require just a lot of strength. And then in between that, you're running and you're climbing up and down mountains and hills and, trying to stay on the trail. And, I was scared. I was really scared, before I had actually done it. And I remember that day when I had my first race. It was up in near Boise, Idaho. Actually, it was more closer to the Oregon border where we were, but I remember doing it. And I struggled. It wasn't easy. This was my first time. I had the running part down, but my strength wasn't where I wanted it to be yet. And there were a couple things I had to get a lot of help with, like what was it? The Atlas carry, where you pick up this 80-pound ball of concrete and you carry it, walk down and go around a flag and come back. And I mean, just there's so many things, and I remember once once that race started and I got into it, and I was just focused on that, and I just concentrated on, getting from obstacle to obstacle, and I started to really have fun. It was hard, but it was a lot of fun. And I remember when I got to the end of the race, you have to jump over. Yeah, they have a fire jump at the end, right before you get to the finish line. You jump over a fire. I had used up all the glycogen in my muscles, and I was just shaking, and I had no strength left. And I tried to jump over the fire, and I about landed in it. I stumbled, but I caught myself, and somebody had that on video, and that's what I was trying to find, because I wanted to show you guys just the mess that I was at the end. I mean, I was mud from head to toe, because you end up going through a dunk wall and through mud, and I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. But it took everything that I had inside me to finish that first race, and that one was only 3 miles. And I was completely wiped out, but you know what? The sense of accomplishment that I had at the end of that race, oh my goodness, it was so worth it. And my first thought was, okay, when can I do this again? I loved it, and it was crazy, because, you know, pushing myself that hard and making that accomplishment, I was able to, do something I didn't think I could do. And I realized I'm a heck of a lot stronger than I thought I was. And there's a saying that they always use in Spartan, and it is, you'll know at the finish line. And boy, that's true. It's really true. It was, anyway, I'll never forget that day. Now, I have told you guys a little bit about, the things that had happened to me growing up, some of my past, and I've had a lot of trauma, and, especially the accident that I was in, giving me a lot of PTSD. I still freak out when my husband and I are traveling somewhere and he hits the rumble strips on the side of the freeway, and that makes that horrible sound. I still get unnerved. And if I'm already stressed out or nervous or worried about something and he hits those, I'll start crying. I mean, I've still got some kind of PTSD from that. But I'll never forget, we were driving back home to Utah after that race. And, I get very scared too if I'm driving somewhere and something comes across the field of vision, or or you have a close call, almost hitting somebody, or things like that. Those things just freak me out. We were driving back home, and the truck that was in front of us, they had a blanket over a bunch of furniture, and that blanket flew out and it hit right on our windshield. I screamed, because it brought back, and what I saw in my mind was me colliding with that truck on my motorcycle all over again. And for a long time, if things started to pop up, memories from that accident started to pop up, I would dissociate. I just flat out refused to look at it or deal with it. And I remember that blanket comes across, the windshield driving home, freaked me out, because, like I said, it made me think of that collision, and I was immediately going to just check out. And then I thought, no, wait a minute. I just, look what I just did. I am strong enough to face this. And I sat there. My husband had no idea what I was doing, because I wouldn't talk to him, but I just closed my eyes and I let it play out in my head over and over and over. And I just kept seeing myself slamming and colliding with that truck. And I just let it go. I just let it play out in my head. And I just kept telling myself, you're strong enough. You can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And you know what? I was. And, that first race has everything I learned from that. I have been able to transfer those lessons to life. I know I can handle just about anything. Okay, that was story 2. Okay. And the next thing I want to tell you about is my first husband. uh, got married very young, right out of high school. And I didn't realize until my daughter told me this maybe a year ago that her father had admitted to her that he did not want to get married, and that he actually just kind of he was very into mountain biking, and we spent a great deal of time in Moab, and he was one of the the OGs of mountain biking, when mountain bikes were just kind of experimental and everything. um but he didn't want to get married. He just wanted to go to Moab and just spend his life doing things out there. And he married me because it was kind of expected in our religion. He had just returned from a mission, and that's kind of what's expected, is that that we in my religion, it is expected of all of the young men to devote 2 years of their lives and serve a mission for the church. And he had done that. When you come home, you get married. That's just the way it was. And I had known him. He was my boyfriend before he had left, and I'd waited for him to come home. And I had no idea that he actually did not want to get married. Turns out he did it because it was expected, because it's what his parents wanted. And, I'm really glad that he never told me that when we were together, because it would have absolutely devastated me. And I was shocked. I was very surprised. And I think it threw my daughters for a loop when he admitted that to them too, because they kind of thought, wait a minute, do you regret having a family? Do you regret us? It was, I think it kind of threw them all. But um it was, you know, it, it explains a lot. It explains why I could never get the deep connection with him that I always craved. I never did. And I was very, there were times when we were happy, and there were times when I was extremely unhappy. I even left him at one point for 6 months and took my daughters with me. I was so unhappy, and I couldn't figure out why. Now I know, he wasn't being authentic. It's not what he really had wanted. And anyway, um, but one of the things that he wanted me to do when we were together was to get into mountain biking too. And he actually had purchased a really nice bike for me. And, we'd go to Moab, and he'd want me to go on all these trails, and, we'd camp out, and it was just things that, he expected me to do. And I just did them to keep the peace, but I didn't enjoy it. I did not have fun. I was just very unhappy. And, it was just, it wasn't anything that I wanted to do. Now, why am I telling you guys these things? I want to talk more about authenticity. I had talked about the last time about the masks that we wear, as addicts, especially. We have to hide our habits. We have to hide our addiction. We pretend to be something that we're not, and there's no way that you can truly be happy if you're not being, and you're not being yourself, and you're not doing the things that you truly want to do, and the things that truly make you happy. Hang on a minute. I gotta get a drink here. Oh. Anyway, like I said, that's what kind of we had talked about before, and how important it is to find out who you really are, find out what it is you really want to do. But the part two, the first thing I wanted to go over is how important it is to cultivate authentic relationships. And as I had said, with my first husband, I never did get that deep connection that I have with my husband now. I never had that. And that did not help anything. It certainly didn't help my addiction. It just made me want to numb myself even more, because I wasn't getting the connection, the love that I wanted. and that I needed. And that's something, as addicts, it's something very, very important. You have got to have an authentic relationship. Okay. Now, what do I mean by that? What I'm talking about is, if you have, okay, say my husband did not support me getting clean and sober. Say he liked to do drugs, and all of a sudden I started to, you know get sober. If he was, an inauthentic relationship, if you are with somebody and you want to be sober and they don't respect that, and they try to push you, here, have a drink, or here, just try a little of this, or they kind of push it, they're not being the friend that you need. That's not an authentic relationship. And for you to be able to stay in a relationship like that usually means you've got to put the mask back on just to stay in it. And that, that's not going to work. The kind of relationships that, as addicts, what we need are people that are going to respect the things that we value, like sobriety. And they're going to respect that, and they're going to support you in that. That's what I mean by an authentic relationship. And as addicts, that's something we aren't used to. But to be able to maintain your sobriety, it's absolutely essential that you've got these authentic relationships where you are respected and valued and loved and cared for. And thank goodness that my sweet husband is completely supportive, of what the changes that I made, and coming on and doing these videos, and you know, being part of the lifeboat. I mean, he's completely supportive, and it's wonderful. Makes all the difference in the world when you have that. It's wonderful. Um, it's and but as addicts, we're really bad at communication, and it takes some work, and it takes some time to learn how to get that. But it's really essential. But the next thing that I wanted to talk about was, you've got to protect your authentic self. What does that mean? In this life, there's the only things that we really have control over are our attitudes, our choices, our actions. We can control us. We can't control what's going on in the world. We can't control our spouse or our friends or our children or our parents. No, everybody is an individual. Everybody has their own lives, and we can't control others. It doesn't work that way. And for I've spent so much of my life, as I had said, the last time I was on here, an extreme people pleaser. Anything just to get people to like me, or but I learned that in the home I grew up in, just trying to keep the peace. As I had said, I would wear this mask, where I would bend myself backwards, forwards, sideways, inside out, anything to try to keep the peace in the house. I'd do whatever I was asked. I'd do things that weren't asked, and I always felt responsible for everybody around me. And I'm trying so hard right now to catch myself and stop that. I mean, it causes some issues between my husband and I sometimes, because I'll try to read his emotions and try to figure out how he's feeling, because he's usually very, very quiet. And so I try to read his body language and things, but I'm not very good, really good a lot of the time at sensing other people. But for some reason, maybe it's just because we're so close, but I have a hard time reading him. But um I don't know, it's I'm learning. I'm still in that process of learning that I've got to let those things go and just worry about me. I've got to worry about my energy, and what's important to me. What am I going to be? Um, you know. I can control what I can do. Um, you know, let me just, I'm just checking my notes here. I just don't want to make, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Um, but yeah, you do have to let go of that control because it really is an illusion. You know, you can't control anybody else. Just, you've got to take care of yourself. And, especially when you are newly sober, you've got to be very careful. Um, you've got to protect yourself and do what is best for yourself and not worry about everybody else, and sometimes that gets really difficult, but, it is really important. You just got to worry about you and not what everybody else is doing. Um, but another important point in being authentic is you've got to surround yourself with a lot of positive energy, um, and you need that, not only from the people around you, but the places that you go, the things that you do, the habits that you have, the hobbies that you have. That it needs to be very positive. You need to have, that positive energy, and you need to have a loving kind of energy too. It's so important in your self-care to do that. um, but why is that important? It's important because, um, you know when you're making these changes, it's extremely uncomfortable, and we are completely wired. Our brains are wired for comfort. We it's our brains want to do what we're used to, what is, you have those neural pathways that you are used to going, that have been used so many times. Every time you have a thought over and over again, it deepens the neural pathway in your brain. The myelin sheaths that um, cover those neural pathways are strengthened each time that neural pathway is used. And so to make these new changes can be really difficult at first. So again, that's why you've got to have the energy that's going to nourish you. um, um, but when you do that, when you're able to make changes and have positive people around you, and like I said, positive places, things like that, to have a loving kind of environment, it really does kind of buoy you up. It helps. It's kind of like, sorry, I'm having a hard time explaining this one. um you begin to cultivate kind of a sense of resiliency in your life, when you can do that. And I when you have that love and that positivity around you, it can remind you too that you are capable of anything that you want to set your mind to. So it's really important to, um, when you're becoming your authentic self and you're figuring out who you really are and what you want to do, and figure out, why am I here, and what are my goals. you know it's you've got to have that love and that positivity around you. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to become, um, in these new patterns that you're making in your life. Really important. Let me just check my notes here. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything here. Um, the next thing I want to talk about, as far as authenticity is, what choices are you making? Do they represent who you really are? Um, and I was thinking about this earlier today. There's a lot of shoulds that run through our minds. Oh, I should do this, or I should do, I should buy this expensive car, or because I'll look good to people, or I should do this because my parents expect me to do this. Or, there's lots of shoulds that go through our minds all the time. I should do this, I should do that. The shoulds can be a real big problem. you need to dig a little bit deeper with your choices and decide, am I doing this for me or am I doing this for somebody else? You've got the choices that you're making need to be really authentic. Um, they need to represent who you are, and so it's really important to know yourself, know what do you value, what is important to you. Um, because if you're making a choice to do something and you're doing it for somebody else, your heart is not going to be in it. You're going to start resenting the person that you are doing that thing for if it's something that isn't good for you or isn't what you really want to do. And I saw that. I saw that with my parents a great deal when I was young. And it can destroy lives, destroy marriages. That that resentment, and it just can really make things icky and ugly. um you really do just need to worry about you. You need to choose the path that is best for you. And again, as addicts, that's something that we struggle with, because we have hidden who we really are. And I think a lot of us forget. I know I have forgotten who I really am for a long time and what I really wanted. Because I've always had to do things for other people, um, just to try to keep peace. And it leads to resentment, it leads to anger, and I know with me, and I know with a lot of people that I know, um, if you have anger and it is not resolved, it turns to depression and it turns deep. And so again, authenticity, this principle is just so vital to addicts. If you want to be sober and maintain that sobriety, really important. Um, Now, I was saying, our brains are wired for comfort. And as I said, these changes can be very uncomfortable, even if they are for the better. Um, but I want to read. Let me just read this statement in this book that this Erica Spiegelman book, and she says here, and I love this, and I know it's true too. She says we can literally rewire our brains to accept positive changes. Take comfort in knowing it won't always feel uncomfortable to make a healthy choice. And once these choices become a part of your routine, and once your brain acclimates and adjusts to that, you'll feel like you're doing what you need to do to take care of yourself. I oh that's I really think that's an important point right there. Very important. Um, it's I know authenticity is really hard, especially when you are new at this sobriety thing. I realize that. But I was thinking the other day too, and maybe I'm a little. Now I know I'm a little crazy, so that's okay. But I was thinking, as addicts, um, in a way, we're blessed and we're lucky if we're still here. We're here, so we haven't managed to overdose and off ourselves yet. So we are lucky that way. But we're lucky because if you get to the point where you want to make changes and you want that sobriety, you get to go through that self exploration. You get to discover, who am I really? Why am I really here? What am I supposed to be doing? What really makes me happy? We're kind of lucky. We get to figure that out. I've seen people, when I was a psych nurse, I've seen people, elderly people, in their 60s and 70s, that are just in this horrible, deep, awful depression that they cannot come out of. And it's because they have done a job, or, they've done something their entire life. They weren't happy doing it. And they did it because it was expected of them, you know, and they lose touch with who they really are. And it would it just broke my heart. Some of the patients that I remember, these elderly people, they'd lived their whole lives and live for other people and not for themselves. And I really truly believe that you aren't any good to anybody else if you don't take good care of yourself, and if you're not doing what makes you happy. Really, how can you benefit other people, if you're not happy doing what you're doing? It doesn't work. But I don't know if you guys I'm sure some of you have heard of Viktor Frankl. He was a psychiatrist. He was in East Germany uh, during the Holocaust, and he ended up in, I think it was Auschwitz, if I remember correctly. And he was a psychiatrist, and he watched people. You know, he made it out alive, but he's written a book called Man's Search for Meaning, and I just love that book. If you're curious, there are a lot of videos on YouTube. You just put his name in it, and you can see some of his lectures and some of his talks and everything. And he's an amazing guy. But I remember becoming familiar with him when I was very young. I think when I was 8. I came across a statement that he had made. It was in one of my church books or manuals or something, and I was so impressed with the things he was saying, and I never forgot that. Even at 8, I was so impressed with the things that he was saying. But I want to read you guys a few things out of this book, Man's Search for Meaning, and I think they're really important. There's one part here in the introduction, and this is a quote by Nietzsche. And I know that Frankl wholeheartedly approved of this statement. And Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how." Okay, and that's on the first page of the foreword of this book. And I really like that. And I know, like I said, I know Frankl wholeheartedly agreed with that one. Now, let me read a little section here. Let's see. Terrible as it was, his experience in Auschwitz reinforced what was already one of his key ideas. Life is not primarily a quest for pleasure, as Freud believed, or a quest for power, as Alder taught. It was a quest for meaning. That was what Frankl believed. The greatest task for any person is to find meaning in his or her life. Frankl saw 3 possible sources for meaning: in work, doing something significant; in love, as in, caring for someone you love. Let's see, the third one was in courage during difficult times. Suffering in and of itself is meaningless. Okay, I'm going to read that again. Suffering in and of itself is meaningless. We give our suffering meaning by the way in which we respond to it. And as addicts, we all know suffering. We all know that. We know that very well. And so I love that. Suffering in and of itself is meaningless. We give our suffering meaning by the way in which we respond to it. Let me bump down a little bit further and continue to read this. Let's see. Frankl's most enduring insight, one that I have called upon often in my life, and this is the guy who's writing the foreword. Let's see. Lost my place. Okay, one that I have often in my own life, called on often in my own life and in countless counseling situations. Forces beyond your control can take away everything that you possess except one thing: your freedom to choose. You choose how you will respond to the situation. You cannot control what happened to you in your life, but you can always control what you feel and do about what happens to you. And then there's another sentence here I had underlined. It says, having a why to live for enabled them to bear the how. And that was referring to the people in the concentration camp. Let's see. And then there's one other section I just want to quickly read to you guys. And this was the one that impressed me so much as an 8-year-old. He said here, we who lived now this is Frankel talking right here. He said, we who lived in the concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread, and they starved. So, I love that image. And he said, they may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing: the last human freedom, the freedom to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. I've never forgotten that. There really is, there is meaning in suffering, but you have to bring that meaning to it. It isn't easy getting in touch with yourself and finding out who you really are. You do have to face a lot of the mistakes that you have made, and that sometimes can feel overwhelming. But I want you to remember something. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody gets out of this life without goofing up, and the goofs that we have made have brought a lot of suffering to ourselves and to a lot of the people around us. There's nothing we can do about it at this point, and the reasons for why you became an addict in the first place, there's most likely something traumatic happened to you in your past, and that's what you're trying to cover up. You're trying to cover up the pain from that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I am so tired, you guys. Boy, I can't think what I apologize, guys. I just completely lost my train of thought. Anyway, I please do not get hung up on the mistakes that you have made. They don't. That's where I was going with it. They don't define who you are. Everybody makes mistakes. You can't change your past. There's nothing you can do about it now except what you do from here on out. Again, it's what you choose. What's going to be your attitude with the rest of your life? How are you going to look at things? Figure out who you really are, what you really want to be doing. I was thinking about my husband earlier today. He used to be a basketball coach. He used to teach high school, and he taught basketball, and he loved coaching basketball. Just loved it. He loves to coach. I mean, he's very, he's athletic. He's a world-class athlete. I mean, he, came in third in his age group in the nation last year in Spartan. And, he's a coal miner now, and he does it strictly, for money, because, we have 6 kids, and buttload of chickens and everybody has obligations and bills to pay and things, so he's in the coal mine now. He's not doing what he was trained to do, and he's not doing what he loves, but it does bring in the money. But he still does get to do what he loves to do, when he goes and he trains and he does these races. But in the past, um sometimes after he would do his own race. Oh, hi, Cat. He would, sometimes after some of the races, once his race was over, he would go through and take a group of people who had never been through a Spartan race before. And it was fascinating to watch him. He he shines. He lights up when he is coaching somebody. When he's teaching them how to do something physical, he completely lights up, and it's so amazing to see. And it's because that's what he loves, that's what's important to him, that's what he's good at, it's what he enjoys. When you can do what you really love, you shine. And he does, he shines. And I see this again too when he and I, every other week we teach the equivalent of Sunday school to a bunch of 11-year-olds. And he's trained to teach. And the first time I ever saw him teach, he took his turn to teach the class, and I was blown away. Again, he shines. He's good at it. He's so good at making connections with young kids and teaching them things, and it's really cool to see. But I'm just I'm telling you about this because I want you to understand that when you can figure out who you really are, what you really want to do, when you do the things that are good for you, your countenance is going to show it. You are going to shine, and people are going to notice that difference. And it's not easy to to work your way out of to take that mask off and to figure all of that out. I mean, there's a lot of internal work you've got to do, but it is so worth it. But that's really all I have to tell you guys about authenticity. Um, anybody need to talk or anything? Because there's that link right there. If anybody wants to jump up, I'm just going to look through here um, in the chat here for a minute and say hello. Um, let's see who's here. Um, okay, there we go. Okay, of course we got Charlie, Awakened, Miss V, Virginia. The seventh son. I hope he's been telling some good jokes. He always does. And Dennis and Virginia and Noise Opera. Franklin. Let's see. Darren Huckabee. Dennis. Let's see. Who else we got here? Ah. Let's see. Oh, there's Southern Grace. Awesome. Diary of a Madman. All right. Let's see. Oh, there's Cindy Party. Hello. Scott Nay. Hi. The Dead End Collective. Let's see. Am I missing anybody? Anyway, hello to everybody. Oh, there's Pagan. Anyway, hello to everybody. Oh, I think I saw Joanna. Yeah, I did. Anyway, Miss Dragon's there, and all right. I'm so tickled that you guys will. Oh, and Johnny's here. Hey, Johnny. I'm just tickled that you guys will put up with me. I know I'm not the captain, and I'm not even close. But I'm afraid you guys are kind of stuck with me. Once a week now. um, yeah, I'll cultivate kindness, and gosh, I hope I haven't missed anybody. Oh, I saw. Um, oh yeah, Mrs. Hermit Heel, M. Hunt. Who else? Pariah. All right. Yeah, that was what it said. Lady Spells Breaker Oracle. Ah, let's see. Anyway, hello to everybody. If I missed you, I apologize. Um, oh, Stacy, I did miss you. I'm sorry. Anyway, thank you guys for sticking around, and I apologize for the mess at the beginning. I don't know what happened. I've used StreamYard many times. Um, I don't know what's going on. I'm kind of frustrated because I spent a great deal of time today setting it all up. I had pictures I was going to put up on the screen and things, and yeah, it just, I don't know why it didn't work, but yeah, I'll get the kinks figured out. But um, I we might possibly be using StreamYard and using a link so that you guys can call in. Um, anyway, I'm sorry about all of that mess at the beginning. I'll get it worked out, but because I know it works. I've used it plenty of times. Anyway, thank you for sticking it out with this nutty lady. I am very exhausted today, and I'm sure you can tell. And I know this hasn't been the best hour, but I did try, and I do love doing this. I really do. And the people that I am meeting here on the boat are awesome. Oh, I missed Gladys Q Kravitz. That's awesome. And T Prada. Oh, sorry. And Leisure. Oh my goodness, I can't. Yeah, I'm missing all kinds of people. I'm sorry. Oh, Ilea. There she is. I haven't seen you in a while. Anyway, that is really all I have tonight. Hope you guys have a great night. And as Tommy always says, between this and him popping on again in the morning, reach out and try to save somebody because, we have been through so much. And, you know, why go through all that pain and all that struggle to get sober unless you use it to benefit somebody else? You found your way out, you know, reach behind you and help somebody else out. Life does not make sense to me to go through difficult things unless you can come out on top and help somebody do the same thing that you just did. That's the only way things make sense to me. And I don't know if you guys have ever looked really closely at my avatar, but I probably need to redo it so it shows up better. But I have written around the circle. It says stumbling blocks into stepping stones. And that's what I'm trying to do with my life. I'm trying to take all of the things that used to used to trip me up, and things I'd stumble over completely. I'm trying to fix those weaknesses, and instead of stumbling over them, using them now as stepping stones. And that's really kind of my philosophy. That's what I'm trying to do. But anyway, you guys have a good night, and I will see you again soon. Good night.